based on concepts of yin and yang and shape and balance and contrast and lines, a lot of things having to do with art in general, which makes sense, right? Because style is another medium of visual art, in my opinion. So the test is designed to help you find your body type and accentuate the unique beauty of your type. Playing with the lines and shapes that are already present in your body with the clothes that you wear. So, for example, let me say too, it's based on the concepts of yin and yang, not necessarily masculine and feminine, but yang being straight lines, sharper angles, more solid and rigid, and yin being round lines, softer angles, and more rounded, softer shapes in general. But you can have a lot of yang and still be very feminine. You can also have a lot of yin and still be masculine. Okay, and the 13 types fit into 5 families, but we'll get into that more later when I give you the results. I found this test about a year ago and I really enjoyed it because it helped me better understand why some clothes look better on me than others do, or why I gravitated to certain silhouettes. And it helped me look at my body more in terms of visual perception and the overall visual effect of my body and my clothes together. And then once you know those rules, you can either follow them or you can break them thoughtfully, right? There's a huge difference between breaking fashion rules without thought, without knowing them. That's when you look like a mess, or breaking the rules, knowing what you're doing. And one last caveat before we get started is you can, of course, wear whatever you want. It's just a system, some guidelines to help you understand the way certain lines and shapes of clothing might interact with your body and the lines and shapes of your body. The test does not discriminate on, based on body weight. Also doesn't, you can take it no matter what your gender or biological sex is. In that case, it's typically done for women, and so you would just modify the waist and hip question a bit and then skip the bust question. And then one last thing I want to say is, if you have gender dysphoria, body dysmorphia, if you've struggled with an eating disorder or disordered eating, maybe think twice before taking this test, and just make sure you're protecting your boundaries and what's right for you mentally. So what you need to take the test is a photo of yourself, either in a swimsuit or your underwear, or and then if you take a photo, you want to take it like at chest level, straight on, so that you don't distort the image or the perspective and the volume of different things. Or you can just stand in front of a mirror, but it helps to have that visual, because these questions are very specific and particular. It will help to have a visual in front of you so that you're not just answering the questions based on what you think your body's like, and instead looking at your body in real time to answer more accurately. And then you'll need a piece of paper to record your answers. The test is divided into bone structure, body flesh, and facial features. And again, it's based on yin and yang. So A and B tends to be more yang dominant, sharper, more angular, and D and E more yin dominant, so softer and rounder. If you don't strongly identify with A, B, or D, E, just choose C, which is the middle. Select the answers that best describe your body. It's not going to be perfect, but we're looking for the overall pattern here. So don't worry, don't get too bogged down if one of the questions doesn't exactly make sense. And then when you get the results, you can see if it resonates with you or not. You might be caught between one or two, and you can take a look at, celebrity examples and things like that to make sure you got the right one. Okay, are you ready? The first question. So, I would also keep them separated by section. So this section is bone structure. Bone structure. It's not subject to fluctuations in weight. Okay, it's just about your literal bones. The first question is, how tall do you look? It's not about how tall you actually are. It's about how tall you look based on how large or small your head is in comparison to your body. For example, Sarah Jessica Parker is pretty short, I believe, but she has a tall vertical line. She looks like she would be taller. So, how tall do you look? Question 1. A, quite tall. B, slightly tall. C, average height. D, slightly short. E, quite short or petite. Question 2. What is the shape of your shoulders? So don't compare your shoulders to your head, compare them to the rest of your body. A, sharp and angular. B, beveled and broad. C, neither very sharp nor very rounded. D, slender and rounded. E, wide and rounded. Question 3. How long do your arms look? Again, this is about the bone structure of your arms, so ignore the shape of the flesh on your upper arm. It's just about the bones. So, how long do your arms look? A, long and slender. B, long and wide. C, neither long nor short, evenly proportioned. D, short and slender. E, short and wide. Question 4. How long do your legs look? Again, about the bone structure, so just ignore the shape of the fat and muscle on your thigh. How long do your legs look? A, long and slender. B, long and wide. C, neither long nor short, evenly proportioned. D, short and slender. E, short and wide. 5. What best describes the shape of your hands? A, long and narrow. B, long and broad. C, not noticeably long or short, evenly proportioned. D, short and narrow. E, short and wide. Question 6. What best describes the shape of your feet? A, long and narrow. B, long and wide. C, not noticeably long or short, evenly proportioned. D, small and narrow. E, small and wide. Question 7. What best describes the shape of your torso? So this concerns more the flesh of the waist, but it's mostly the shape of the rib cage. So that's why we're in the bone structure section. Okay, so A, long and narrow, slightly tapered. B, long and wide, and it could be straight or thick depending on the weight. C, balanced, neither noticeably long nor noticeably short, and slightly defined if female. D, softly defined if female. Question 8. What best describes the shape of your hips? So again, it's more than the flesh, it's about the shape of the hip bones. A, long and narrow, slightly tapered. B, long and wide, tapering into a V shape if male, or straight if female. C, balanced, evenly proportioned with the rest of your body. D, short and soft, but slightly narrow. E, short, soft, and wide. Okay, that's the bone structure section. Now we are going to do the facial bones section. So the questions are higher in numbers, so I'm not gonna hold up my fingers anymore, but you get the drill. Question 9. What best describes the shape of your jawline? A, sharp and angular. B, blunt and wide. C, neither very sharp nor very rounded. D, rounded and slender. E, rounded and softly wide. So you're keeping in mind the points at the corner of your jawbone and the shape of your chin as well. Question 10. What best describes the shape of your nose? So look at your nose straight on and also in profile. A, long and sharp. B, wide and beveled. C, neither sharp nor rounded, not very small or wide. D, narrow and small. E, rounded, perhaps softly wide. Question 11. What best describes the shape of your cheekbones? So you're just looking at the bone of your cheekbone. Ignore the flesh on your cheeks. So it might help if you run your fingers over the bone itself. A, prominent and sharp. B, wide and beveled. C, neither very sharp or very rounded. D, narrow and rounded. E, rounded and wide. Okay, and that's the end of the facial feature one. So now the third section is body flesh. It has nothing to do with your weight. It's about the fat and muscle on your body, both of which are normal, neutral parts of any body. Everyone has at least a little bit of fat. Everyone has at least a little bit of muscle. So unrelated to your current weight, it's about the overall look and shape of your flesh, skin, muscles. For example, talking about body flesh in the face, or like flesh in the face, Selena Gomez, even when she's very thin, she still has a lot of flesh in her face, so it doesn't have to do with your weight or your health. Okay, question 12. How would you describe your bust in proportion to the rest of your body? You can skip this question if it does not pertain to you. A, flat and taut. B, widely spaced, not very prominent. C, balanced, not noticeably small or large. D, fairly large and soft. E, quite prominent. Question 13. How would you describe the flesh on your upper arms? So, if you carry a lot of weight in your arms, you might default to D or E, but again, it's about the shape of the flesh. So, is the flesh like rounded or straight? And also look at it in proportion to the rest of your body. A, taut and straight. B, wide and straight. C, balanced, not very taut, not very soft. D, soft and slender. E, soft and wide. Question 14. How would you describe the flesh on your thighs? Again, not based on how much you work out. Like, B types will tend towards muscle even if they're not regularly going to the gym. So you might want to even pinch the flesh on your upper arms and thighs. A, taut and straight. B, wide and straight. C, balanced, not very taut, not very soft. D, soft and slender. E, soft shape of your lips. A, thin and angular. B, thin and straight. C, not very thin or full, not very rounded or angular. D, full and slightly angular. E, full and rounded. And finally, the last question: what best describes the flesh on your cheeks? So this time, ignore the cheekbone and just focus on the flesh. It may also help if you smile to see if it tends towards angularity or softness. A, taut and flat. B, wide and muscular. C, not very soft or tight. D, soft but slender. E, soft and wide, creates a rounded shape. So that is the end of the test. I am now going to help you define what type you are, and then later we'll talk about celebrity examples and what kinds of clothing work best for you and your type. If you got mostly E answers, you are the romantic body type. Your body is made up of soft and rounded lines, and you're probably on the short side. Some of your features may seem wide, but because they're short and rounded, they don't have a lot of visual weight. If you work out a lot, your muscles are softly defined rather than quite sharp. When you gain weight, your body becomes very rounded and soft. However, you will still maintain a softly defined figure if you're an hourglass shape. If you got mostly D answers, or a combination of E and D with up to 4 A and B answers in body or facial bones, then you have the theatrical romantic body type. Your body is made up of soft and rounded lines. However, you also have some added angularity in your bone structure or facial features. You tend to be more narrow than the romantic. If you work out a lot, your muscles are softly defined rather than quite sharp. When you gain weight, your body becomes very rounded and soft, but you still maintain a defined figure if you're an hourglass shape. Dramatics. If you got mostly A answers, you have the dramatic body type. Your body is made up of long and sharply angular lines. However, you still tend to be on the narrow side. You're also probably on the tall side. If you work out a lot, your muscles are defined but add to your visual length rather than widening out your figure. When you gain weight, your body still keeps a rather straight silhouette rather than becoming extremely curved. If you got mostly A answers plus some D or E answers in flesh or facial features, then you have a soft, dramatic body type. Your body is made up of long and sharply rounded lines. However, you have some added softness in your flesh or facial features. You're also probably on the tall side. If you work out a lot, your muscles may be softly defined, more softly defined than a pure dramatics, because you have some softness in your flesh. When you gain weight, it tends to collect most at your softest features. Classics. If you got mostly C answers, then you have the classic body type. Your body is quite evenly proportioned, and you're probably of average height. It's hard to say if any of your facial features are soft and round or sharp and angular, since they're such an even blend. If you work out a lot, your muscles tend to add to your balanced look rather than changing it. When you gain weight, you still maintain your balanced look, neither very rounded nor very straight. You are a blend between the two. If you got mostly C answers with several D and E answers, then you have the soft classic body type. Your body is quite evenly proportioned, however you have some added softness probably in your flesh or facial features. You look to be of average height or a bit short. If you work out a lot, your muscles may be softly defined, however your body still looks quite balanced. When you gain weight, your body tends to become rounder and quite soft. If you got mostly C answers with some A and B answers, then you have dramatic classic body type. Your body is quite evenly proportioned, but you have some added angularity, probably in your bone structure or facial bones. You're probably of average height or a bit taller. your muscles tend to add to your balanced look rather than changing it. When you gain weight, you also maintain your balanced look, neither very rounded nor very straight, a blend between the two. If you got mostly B answers, you have the natural body type. Your body is made of beveled ankles and has wide bone structure. You're probably of average height or slightly tall, however you don't look as long as the dramatic. You gain muscle easily, and if you work out a lot, your muscles add to your broadness and can be quite defined. When you gain weight, your body tends to stick to a squarish shape. You got mostly B answers with several D or E answers. Then you have the soft, natural body type. Your body is made of beveled ankles and has a wide bone structure. However, you have some added softness, probably in your flesh or facial features. You're probably slightly short or of average height. You gain muscle easily when working out, but it tends to be more softly defined than with the natural. When you gain weight, you tend to collect it in the parts of your flesh that are softest, which can lead to a very rounded figure. If you got mostly B answers with several A answers, you have the flamboyant, natural body type. Your body is made of beveled ankles and has a wide bone structure, but you have some added length and sharpness. Probably quite tall or look tall. You gain muscle easily when working out, but it can be wide and defined or long and straight depending on where your sharp angularity comes from, or sharper angularity. When you gain weight, your body tends to maintain a straight shape, like a square or rectangle. Gamines. If you got an even mixture of A and B answers and D and E answers, you have the gamine body type. You have a mixture of structured and soft answers across your bone structure, facial features, facial bones, and flesh, which makes it difficult to say exactly where each answer will fall. I can't say exactly how muscle or weight gain will happen to you, and it's difficult to make generalizations about gamines, but in my next video about the styles for each type, we'll get into how you can dress and what styles you can pull off that like no one else can pull off. If you got a mixture of answers with slightly more D and E than A and B, you have the soft gamine body type. You have a mixture of structured and soft answers again, but you probably have some added softness in your flesh or facial features. If you have softer flesh, then your muscles will become softly defined from working out, and your figure will become rounded from weight gain. If you got a mixture with slightly more A and B than D and E, you have the flamboyant gamine body type. Again, a mixture, but you have some added angularity, probably in your flesh or facial features. If you have more structured flesh, you'll probably gain muscle easily from working out, and it will add to your angular silhouette. Weight gain will also maintain a straighter figure unless you have soft answers in your flesh. So those are all 13 types. So dramatics are characterized by sharpness, straightness, typically. Naturals are characterized by a broadness, typically. Classics are characterized by a balance between the sharpness of yang and the softness of yin. And, what am I forgetting? Gamines, but what's this? Romantics are characterized by softness, and roundness. And then gamines are characterized by a mixture of yin and yang, like classics. Unlike classics where that yin and yang is balanced, however, and mixed up, blended, like a blendedness. Gamines have the same mixture, but there's a contrast to it. It's unblended and separate. And all 5 families are gorgeous, truly, in my eyes, but also just they are. In my next video, I'm going to tell you a little bit about how to dress for your type. It's just guidelines. They're not hard and fast rules. You don't have to follow them, but I have found it helpful. I hope you like this video, and if you have any questions about what you might be, you can ask me below. I'm not an expert, but I know there's some peculiarities to this test that it took me a while to understand. understand when I first took it